Another 4 playoff games, another 4 eliminations, and another 4 opportunities to try to find the next Seattle Seahawks offensive coordinator. All right, everybody, welcome back. Good morning. It is Monday. We are clear of the divisional round of the playoffs, and there are only 4 teams left. So that means there are 28 teams that are currently eliminated, and that means there are a lot of opportunities for the Seattle Seahawks to try to find their new offensive coordinator among the teams that are out. So we did this last week with the 6 eliminations on wildcard weekend. Now we're going to take a look at the eliminations from the divisional round and talk about who we could now theoretically hire if we saw it fit. Obviously, some of these candidates that we're going to discuss in this video have already had full-length videos on them on this channel. So if you want to know my full thoughts on some of these candidates, you can go back and find the videos on them. But a couple of them we haven't really discussed in full yet, and we may not. There's obviously going to be, at a certain point, an oversaturation where you're just looking at candidates that have no real chance and are not going to be compelling to anybody. In fact, some would argue we're pretty much there as is. So I want to be clear that not all of these guys are going to really be on the list for the Seahawks. Some of them are going to be just kind of on the list in our head, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But again, while we have this opening on the coaching staff, I want to look at all possibilities. So first elimination from this most recent weekend was the Houston Texans. They fell to the Chiefs. Pretty predictably, pretty much as expected. And Texans, their play caller is Bobby Slowick, and he's not going anywhere. He's already the play caller in Houston. I don't know why he'd take a lateral move to go to Seattle when he's either going to get a head coaching job this offseason or stay as the OC in Houston. He's doing a fine job. Maybe he gets a head coaching nod. Maybe he goes back for another year, but I don't see any way you would get him in Seattle. But there are 2 names of some note on that Texans coaching staff that I would at least be aware of. One is Jerrod Johnson, the quarterback coach. He's been the quarterback coach there for a few years. He's overseen the early growth of CJ Stroud. He's a name that I have heard connected to some OC jobs, and I believe a couple people even floated him as a potential candidate for the Seahawks, so that one's interesting. Again, he's another one of these guys that has never called plays before. He's another one of these guys that doesn't really bring a ton to the table in terms of experience, but Jerrod Johnson, quarterback coach for the Texans, is at least a name worth knowing. And then you have Bill Lazor. Bill Lazor has been in this league for a long time as a coach. He's been an offensive coordinator before. Most recently, he was the Bears offensive coordinator in 2020 and 2021, I think. And he's been around. But it's not exactly anything that you're thrilled with, right? If you hire Bill Lazor, I don't think very many people would be happy about it. I think it would just be kind of a hire that you make because you can't find anybody you like and you just want a placeholder for a year of somebody who has technically done it before. He's currently the senior offensive assistant in Houston. That would definitely be a hire that would take a lot of the wind out of people's sails, I think. But it is worth noting that the potential exists on some level. It's got a higher chance of happening than 0, but probably less than 2%. So those would be the guys on the Houston staff. Next one, of course, the big upset of the week. The Detroit Lions get not blown out, but decisively beaten. It's not the most shocking thing in the world to people who are paying attention because of all the injuries that the Lions have on defense, but for them to have, 5 offensive turnovers in a game was, I mean, that's a little bit shocking with how good they've been offensively this year and how good their offensive line is and how good their personnel is. Obviously, Detroit's play caller is Ben Johnson, and he's either going to get a head coaching job. In fact, everybody expects him to get a head coaching job, or he's going to go back to Detroit. There's no way you're getting him. So the names of note on the Lions coaching staff, there are actually quite a few, two of whom we've already made videos about. There's, of course, Hank Fraley, the offensive line coach that we've met with twice. There's Tanner Engstrand, the passing game coordinator, who is presumed to be taking over for Ben Johnson in the offseason. He's also going to bring some appeal to the table. But there's actually a third guy that I haven't really discussed yet, and maybe I will down the line, Mark Brunell. Mark Brunell is the Detroit Lions quarterback coach. So, former Washington Husky quarterback, former Washington Husky, maybe you could even call him a little bit of a legend. Maybe it's his turn. That's got to be at least a little bit interesting to some people, even if you're not into the idea of giving such a young person play calling power on this team. Having Mark Brunell on the coaching staff in Seattle is definitely going to carry some appeal to the Huskies fans around here. So I would keep an eye on that name as we go forward into the offseason. Maybe he'll be a late blooming candidate. And let's keep in mind here that Brady Henderson, he already said this, we might be meeting with candidates that we just don't get to hear about. By his own admission, he acknowledged that the Seahawks are requesting interviews with candidates that aren't getting released to the public. But there could be more going on than what we know about. As of right now, we know 5 people, right? The actual number could be closer to like 10. There could be a bunch of guys that we've looked at that we just won't know about until the hire is made. So Mark Brunell would be kind of the wild card from that group. And then you get to Sunday, you have the Rams dropping to the Eagles. And the name, there's really only one guy on the Rams that is intriguing, but it's a pretty big name, Mike LaFleur. It would be very surprising to me if the Seahawks were not interested in LaFleur on some level. Even if they don't end up hiring him, I would be very surprised if we don't at least have a look at him. And I would be very surprised if we didn't interview with him unless we're already committed to somebody. So LaFleur obviously got bloodlines in NFL coaching staffs. His brother is the coach of the Packers. I already made a video talking at length about LaFleur, so I don't feel the need to reiterate everything, but he's a pretty strong candidate. And I would assume, if not for the fact that I have no idea if we've interviewed with him or not, I would assume that he's near the top of our list. He has play calling experience. He comes from the Shanahan and now the McVay trees. So he's going to know a lot about our 2 main division rivals. And I would be inclined to believe that LaFleur would be on the list, if not for the fact that we haven't officially heard it. Right. And then the final game this week, we had the Ravens falling to the Bills. And the Ravens play caller is Todd Monken. And I don't think Todd Monken's going anywhere. I guess there's a scenario where he gets pushed out because for 2 straight postseason appearances, the Ravens have, I don't want to say underachieved offensively because they put up 25 points in that game yesterday. That's really not that bad. Buffalo's got a good defense, but I guess I could see a scenario where they just go, you didn't run the ball enough again, so we're going to let you go. And then maybe you could get Todd Monken, I guess. But realistically, the only guy on that Ravens staff that you could really target to be your offensive coordinator would be T. Martin, who I already made an extended video about. Go back and watch that if you want to. But yeah, T. Martin would be the guy on that staff that I would be taking a look at. So those are the guys who are now potentially open to new employment opportunities. So that's it. Let me know what you guys think. I'm going to get out of here. More videos later. Go Hawks.